How's it going, everyone? I thought I would show you guys how to make a tank spawn in a random location. So this is what the logic looks like, but let's dive into it. So at the beginning, we have some sort of input. That input could be a mission begin, right? So once the mission begins, we randomly spawn in that tank at a different location. Maybe it's a player enters a certain area, right? And then we spawn in that tank. Or maybe some sort of complex event fires off. Maybe a flare, maybe an object's critically damaged, maybe a plane drops bombs or maybe rockets or something like that. And then that's what spawns in our tank. Or maybe the player completes a mission objective and then that spawns in the tank. It could be anything that we want to do, right? But it's some sort of input that comes in that's going to make this tank spawn in. From there, we have this four-way randomizer. This four-way randomizer is a group that can be downloaded by going to the mission editor and multiplayer server manual thread created by Jim. He has these groups right here called sample mission and groups for the mission editor manual, and one of those is this four-way randomizer, which I've used a lot. So this four-way randomizer will randomly choose one of these four timers, and what these timers do is basically say, hey, not only is the tank going to spawn in a random location, but it's also going to spawn at a random time. So the player never knows, like, oh, it's going to spawn exactly at this random time, or this random location, but exactly at this time. In this case, we're randomizing the time as well. Once it selects one of these random timers, then it goes to this next four-way, and this four-way randomizer randomly selects one of the locations. So here we have our tank spawners, and you can see here that when we double click it, it says spawn on me. So our tank is going to spawn randomly at one of these four spawners. And the key with these spawners is the tank is going to point in the direction that you have this little yellow line. And if you hold on Control and left click and drag, you can rotate that yellow line, and that's how the direction of the tank will spawn in. Right. So we want the tank to spawn in the north or facing northward. We can do it that way. So then these spawners have an object link to our tank. And so here's our tank right here, and let's take a look at it. One of the things you need to make sure you do is have enabled not checked, right? This needs to be unchecked. And what this does is it's going basically when the game begins, the mission begins, the tank will not be enabled until one of the spawners fires off, and then the tank will be enabled. I also personally like to remove the limited ammo option for our AI. This is just so that the AI can just continue to shoot forever and ever and ever. Um, and in my case, that's what I want our tank to do as soon as it spawns in, is just keep shooting at the player, right? Once that's set, then we have these spawners, and then the tank will go to one of these. Once it spawns in, it'll go to one of these four different waypoints, and then once it goes to one of those four waypoints, it'll go to start attacking the player or any enemy ground targets. You'll notice though that this spawner right here has a green connection, and then these spawners all have, when I select them, a teal connection, and when I deselect them, a blue connection. And what this is we're adding logic to the tank to give it direction once it spawns in. So in our case here, we only have an object link. So when the tank spawns in, it doesn't know to go to this waypoint, right? You can see here that it's green connection all the way across. It doesn't know to go to this waypoint. It just spawns in, and then it's like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. So we need to give it a report to say, hey, as soon as you spawn in, I want you to do this action, whatever that action is. So in my case, I want the tank to go to this waypoint. So we're going to select our tank right here. We're going to right click. We're going to go to our object menu, and then we're going to go to on spawn report. And then we're going to say, okay, what spawner? We're going to select this one right here, and then we're going to say, okay, once I spawn in, what do I do? And you'll notice it changes to a target link. We're going to say, I want you to go to this tank waypoint. So if it randomly chooses this one, it's going to now drive to this particular waypoint, and then once it gets to that waypoint, it will start searching for enemy ground targets. And then the same thing for the other ones, right? So if it chooses this spawner, it randomly chooses this spawner, then it's going to go to this waypoint. And then it'll, once it gets to that waypoint, it will start looking for enemy tanks or vehicles right here at this one. So we can totally 100% be like, okay, you're going to spawn in right here, and then you're going to go to that waypoint. And once you get to that waypoint, you're going to go here. But if you spawn in at this one, you're going to go here, and then, I'm sorry, you're going to spawn in here, and then you're going to go to right there, and then you're immediately going to start looking for bad guys. And maybe it's this one. He spawns in randomly there, and now he has to drive really far, right? He's got to like go way out here, and then once he gets out there, then he starts looking for bad guys, and so on and so forth. Maybe this is perfect, right? This is how we want it. So now it's randomly location, random time, and random waypoint, and random attack target. So completely random gameplay, adds lots of replayability, and this is only for a single tank. So if we want to have more than one tank, then we would have to just duplicate all of this, right? So we'll just copy and paste. We have our input. In this case, it's still going to be on mission begin. And so now we have two tanks that will randomly spawn in. And then we can just duplicate this again. Now we have three tanks and so on and so forth, right? All right, so this is how you make a randomly spawned vehicle. You can do this for planes. Even for planes, you can even set the altitude, so we can have not only a random location, but a random altitude. We can do the same thing for the waypoints, have a random altitude for our planes. As a matter of fact, I'm doing this in our training server, the Combat Box training server, where the AI planes randomly spawn in at different altitudes, at different locations, and at different times. So that's why the AI is constantly coming in and different places all the time. All right, so that concludes the video. If you have any questions, by all means, just let me know. Thanks for watching.